It's Monday morning, and you know how it is on Monday morning. We'll kick off with tech updates. And for those of you who are iPhone users, well, this one might interest you. Apple's iOS 13 has had a rocky start since its mid-September launch, with it being amongst the most buggy Apple software releases in recent memory. Now, iPhone owners are complaining of yet another issue that may be bug-related. Now, as compiled by Mac Rumors, numerous iOS 13 users say that the OS is killing apps in the background far too aggressively in what appears to be a memory management issue. Now, that has resulted in some users losing progress in apps after switching to another that may be more memory intensive, like the camera or iMessage, even for just a few seconds. Now, you can read a long list of testimonials over at Mac Rumors, but the takeaway is that the iPhone should be getting better at this, not worse, due to superior components and software optimizations. Okay, so let me break it down. So what happens is that you are encouraged to probably kill apps in the background so that your CPU doesn't, or your RAM doesn't use so much of its power when processing apps. So what happens is that newer updates to operating systems on both Android and iOS have this way that they can kill apps in the background automatically. So the complaint is that for iOS 13, it does it too aggressively, so that when you just move away from an app to another app, it already sees the previous app as one that is not, that is taking too much of memory, and, you know, cuts it off almost entirely. That's a bit too fast. Some people say even as fast as 2 seconds. So that might be a problem, and I'm sure that in patches of that particular iOS, that's talking about 13, they probably will do something as the complaints increase. All right. Now, moving on from that, this one is quite interesting because almost everybody, virtually everybody uses this. WhatsApp has now announced that its app can now be locked with a fingerprint on Android. Now, following the addition of biometric security to its iOS version earlier this year. Now, turning the feature on means you'll need to use your fingerprints to unlock the app even after unlocking your phone. Okay. Calm down. Now, this is one that would interest a lot of guys, you know. Someone said that for those of you that delete chats, one day you forget and you'll be caught. Well, now, apart from security and unlocking your phone, you can also fingerprint lock your WhatsApp specially from your phone. You can just lock it specially, right? Now, this is an extra level of security similar to what you might find in a banking app. Now, the update doesn't appear to be available in all regions just yet, but once it arrives, WhatsApp says you'll be able to toggle on the extra security from within the app's privacy settings menu. Now, there are options to let the app remain unlocked for 1 or 30 minutes after you unlock it, and there's also a toggle to prevent the content of your messages from appearing in notifications. Okay, so there you have it. WhatsApp is going to be a bit more secure. If you've received this update, just let us know. It's not available to all regions just yet. Now, what happens is that when these updates come, they come to regions, you know, sequentially. Maybe probably the US region, Asia and all of that might receive it. Africa, it depends on which one. But if you've received that update and you can lock your WhatsApp and unlock it via your fingerprint, just let us know on Twitter. Use the hashtag WakeUpNigeria on TVC and tweet to us at TVC Connect. Okay, and then talking about Twitter, CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, says Twitter will ban all political ads, arguing that internet's political ads present entirely new challenges to civic discourse. Now, he announced that Twitter will be banning all political advertising, albeit with a few exceptions like voter registration. Now, not only is this a decisive move by Twitter, but it also could increase pressure on Facebook to follow suit, or at least take steps in this direction. Now, what this means is that apart from calling on voters to go register to exercise their rights, they can, what would happen is that anything, you know, because of political arts at times can be termed as hate speech because you're going against somebody else, they probably would ban it. And this would probably stretch across to Facebook and Instagram, as what happens whenever this happens to one social media network, the other one tends to adapt and move along with the times. Okay? Now, moving on from that, now this might interest you for those of you who stay in maybe a corporate environment. Now, a security researcher has found several vulnerabilities in the popular open source Horde webmail software that allow hackers to near invisibly steal the contents of a victim's inbox. Now, Horde is one of the most popular free and open source web email systems available. It's built and maintained by a core team of developers with contributions from the wider open source community. It's used by universities, libraries, and many web hosting providers as the default email client. Numan Ozdemir disclosed his vulnerabilities to Horde in May. An attacker can scrap and download a victim's entire inbox by tricking them into clicking a malicious link in an email. Now, for Horde, Horde includes Roundcube, Webmail, and all of that. I've used Horde in about 3 organizations I've been at different times. It's free and it's the most popular. Almost everybody uses it. So the point is that be careful. Whenever you get a message from somebody that you are not sure of, now this is basic internet security etiquette. You don't just click any link. You've won $1,000. Click to this thing. Be very careful. And then there are some that appear legit. I mean, some people might talk about IRS, but some people might talk about tax courts. Some people might talk about, different things that sound very legit, very, very packaged and all of that. When you are not sure, please just delete that particular mail because, hey, come on, all the information in your inbox might just be lost to some hacker somewhere. Now, smartphones, when it comes to smartphones production, it had dropped a bit. It had dropped a bit around the world. But then this is all is not lost for smartphone manufacturers on the heels of 2 years of global stagnation. The category is finally showing some signs of life. Now, much of the bounce back comes as manufacturers are working to correct for dulled consumer interest. Now, I wouldn't put too much weight in the numbers right now as they are little more than an uptick. Numbers from Canalys put shipment growth at 1% from the third quarter of 2018 to the third quarter of 2019. In most cases, that will be a modest gain at best, but this is notably the first time in 2 years that the numbers have been heading in the right direction. Samsung, of course, saw the biggest gains, a phenomenon the analyst firm chalks up to a shift in strategy to eat some of its profits. The move has paid off for the quarter with an 11% growth in device shipments to 78.9 million devices shipped. Now, that gives the company the largest global market share at 22.4%. Now, Huawei, too, saw impressive growth year over year, commanding second place with 66.8 million units shipped. Now, much of its growth came from China, which has ramped up spending on the company's products as it has run into regulatory scrutiny overseas. The resumption of sales in some international markets helped juice growth as well. Of the top 3, Apple continued to struggle the most with a 7% loss from 2018. So there you have it. Samsung is the #1 smartphone seller in the world, of course. But the shocking one, I'll head over to Yomi soon, but Yomi, the shocking one has to be Huawei. Huawei, of course, there are issues with the US, Donald Trump, of course, and the ban. Huawei is not sold in North America, but they are at #2. Beating Apple, of course, Apple with a 7% loss, Huawei with the biggest leap, of course, Samsung in #1. This is quite shocking for Huawei, but then, hey, come on, it's smartphone business. Just know that you Apple fans, all of you that used to use Apple and you think that maybe you are only iPhone and you have already entered or you are close to the gate of heaven, the way some of you do. And then there's this scam, I don't know if you've seen it, the one people change iPhone 10s to 11, there's something they put with the camera there.
Oh, okay.
You sit down with the 2 cameras, you now put it and make it seem like it's 3 cameras. And then there are now farms and all of that. All of you, people should calm down. It's not heaven you're entering. Okay? All right.